Okay, welcome back to another episode of Minecraft, and I kind of wanted to talk more about the concept of evil that I talked about in my last episode. Um, I don't think I made it clear enough, so I just wanted to clarify a few things about what I think, about the concept of evil. And yeah, that's gonna be the main focus of today's video. Like, okay, about evil, right? I already said that, something, it's fine to be evil and, do things, but, I think there are certain limits to that, I mean, like, okay, for my point, it's like you do evil things, but they don't really, like, it's like immoral to do things, and so people criticize you for doing that thing, but like it's not illegal, right? Like it's not illegal to do those things, and so you can do it. So is that considered evil, or just like taking advantage of the system? Because I mean, if you know anything about society, you'll know that it's pretty unfair, and a lot of people take advantage of that unfairness, and they profit from it. And so, why can't I do the same? Why do I have to keep a moral code while just like perpetuating my suffering and perpetuating their thriving, like they're prospering? Like, why am I sacrificing myself for evil people? And so, it's really sad. It's really sad to think about, because, my whole life, I always believed in the fact that good will always conquer the bad and stuff like that. But, the more I grow up, it's just like a fairy tale dream, and that will never happen, probably. It probably won't happen ever, or it won't happen within my lifetime. And so, yeah, it's just like, I don't know, I just think it's pretty unfair if you really think about it, because I've been trying to stay as friendly and as neutral to people as possible. But like, when other people won't give the courtesy of doing the same to me, it's like, I feel a sort of unfairness, But I understand now that you really don't have to do that. And you just, you just always have to be as good of a person as you can, but like, at what point should it, at what point should you stop being a good person by your moral code? Like, when are you gonna stop sacrificing yourself for others? And when are you gonna, just take advantage of your environment? Extract as much resources as you can, as many resources as you can. It sounds very selfish, but like, I think in today's world it makes sense. A little bit, I think. like it's disappointing, but it's the truth, and that's really that's really it's like, you know what I'm trying to say. It's not right, but it's the truth, and it's what people do every day. So, and like, we're not fighting back at all against this corruption of, innocence. We're not fighting back. Yeah, this outrage, but like, the media nowadays just kind of distracts you with like worse and worse news until you just like forget about the problem entirely. And yeah, that's really, that's really how these people operate, When there's outrage, they pay the media kind of to silence things down, or like just have worse things happen. I don't know. But the thing about evil is that it's from a perspective of someone who thinks a certain action is bad, like thinks that doing something is bad. Whereas with the evil person, they just think that, it's normal, it's natural, it's what they have to do. Like, for example, I guess Amazon, Amazon workers, they basically have to like pee in bottles and stuff like that. And like, they get paid like nothing. But that's the truth about manual labor, is that you can kind of cut corners when it comes to paying these people. And then, you just get maximum profits because, they're given their basic needs, but they're not good. And so, yeah, people just take advantage of that loophole. And Jeff Bezos, he always has to make more money, right? He's not rich enough. So yeah, he basically just has to have his people basically pee in bottles and do all these crazy stuff all the time. And that's really disappointing to hear about, but it's what they have to do, to maximize profits. They give the basic needs and then nothing else. And that's kind of what I mean by, evil not being like white or black. It's always, this person thinks this way and they're right, but this other person thinks this other way and they're also right. And so it becomes a game of who's more right, or who convinces the third party, like the government and stuff, that they're more right. And that's kind of where it stops, because the law is basically absolute, and people usually operate by the law. But maybe in like 100 years the law might change so that these manual labor workers are like exploited even more. Or maybe there won't be even manual laborers anyway because of, AI and stuff like that. So maybe there will be other laws preventing people from doing things that are, pretty morally good things to do. And this concept of evil really stems from one side and not another side. Does that make sense? I don't think that does. But it's basically people on one side saying one thing and the other side disagreeing. That's kind of the root essence of evil, is that there's no right or wrong. There's just opinions that people disagree with. And you kind of have to be fence sitting for most of your life before something happens that would make you agree to one side or the other. And that's where your concept of good and evil come in. It's like you think something is good because you were raised to believe that thing is good, not that that thing is actually good. Like, I think that, this is pretty controversial, but I think that war is bad, right? I think most people think war is bad, but other people might say that war facilitates, a country's development, or like the development of the world. Like, it changes the world in such a way that it becomes different and it improves in a certain way, maybe. Or maybe the world will learn a new lesson once the war is over. But, that's a very long-sighted and kind of, not a very good way of going about things, in my opinion. Because when will the war be over, and when will things change for the better? And there are alternate methods to change things. It can't just be war that inspires change, right? There could be other things, perhaps a powerful speech, or something that would uplift every human on earth to do the right thing, in your opinion, or in the speaker's opinion. And so, I don't think that evil is good. It's not, evil isn't bad per se, but the things that you do because you're evil, or because you have these quote-unquote evil beliefs, will affect the world. And that's really bad. With ideas, you can always fight them with other ideas, good ideas, evil ideas. They could kind of come together and meet somewhere in the middle. But I think that I don't know, I just think that when you're acting upon your evil thoughts, it suddenly becomes something bad instead of just evil. Should I distinguish bad from evil? Well, as I've said, evil and good isn't black and white, but good and bad kind of are. No, I don't think so. But you know, like, I don't know. I don't want to believe that evil things are good, but they certainly are legal, right? And legality is the thing that limits people from doing like really bad things, like I don't know, dating minors or something like that. But like, we've seen people do really bad things and get away with it, and there was no like, there's no way to justify those evil beliefs. So why do they still do it? You know, what, like, the, you know, like, the justification is not as good. Like with dating minors, for example, like, the justification is like, you know, they're okay, no, like, the justification is really weak, and you know, no rational human would date a minor just because they're like young and they're like still like fresh meat. What? This is getting gross, but you know what I mean, right? And in this situation, again, the limit is the legality. Yeah, legality. Like, it's illegal to date minors, but these people will go out of their way to date minors even though they know it's illegal. One, they know it's morally wrong. Two, and they know that they're going to get caught, because once these children grow up and they have a platform, and social media is a great platform, by the way, once they have a platform, they will expose you and they will make it public that you dated a minor, right? So why do they do it? Is it short-sightedness, or is it true that dating minors is justifiable? Not, I mean, I don't think dating minors is justifiable, you know. I think that it's illegal to date minors, but that's my only defense, right? Okay, no, this is getting gross. I don't want to talk about minors anymore. Let's talk about like killing people, for example, right? We all know what is going on in the news right now, and you know, killing people is wrong, killing people is bad, but when it becomes a war, it's suddenly like we have to get all these countries involved in order to resolve it. Like, so are they evil for starting the war, or are they the good guys? The good guys for defending their land? You know who I'm talking about. Like, are they evil because they bombed a girls only school? Yes, I would think that they are, but are they justified in that? No, not at all, right? They're not justified in that. And so the question becomes, where does evil stem from? You know, because with the country, it stems from, megalomania, the act, or the kind of desire to power, right? To be in power and to be powerful as a nation, as a human. And so, is that justifiable? No, I don't think so. Because, the decision of one person, the head of power, should not really have an influence over the entire country, Like, I don't think it is justifiable that these people are allowed to do these things. But some people do, right? Some people think that this country, which one I'm talking about, is justified in their actions. Why is that? Is it because they like this country? Or is it because they're paid off, It's very, controversial. And it's very, confusing to deal with. So, I won't talk much about it. But, my main gripe with the world right now is that people are, choosing to be evil. And then there are people who are choosing to be good, but they're still evil, kind of. Does that make sense? Because sometimes you have good people who are kind of inclined to believe in one way and not think about the other way, for example. And so, in their mind, they are the good guys, but in other people's minds, they're bad. Like, they are straight up evil. And that's kind of the thing that you have to be careful about, because not everyone will think that you're good, and not everyone will think that you're evil. But what you do with the people who think you're evil is important. Like, you could learn something from them, and it would help you develop a lot more and develop into a much better person. So, and I get it. There's no satisfying everyone, but in a situation where you're a bad person for this and that, but there are people who are still supporting you because you did a lot of good stuff. You did a lot of good things for your country, for society, and so they want to believe that you still have some good in your heart. Then please be that good. Be the good that the good people, the people who think you're good. Be the kind of person that is good to the people who think you're good, and also good to the people who think you're bad. There's always a way to redeem yourself in this world. And I hope that everyone can redeem themselves, because with the way the world is right now, it would be kind of surprising that we all just become evil, and I think we're at that point already. We're already all evil people. Holy crap, there's a... Wow, okay. I'm definitely gonna mark that. But yeah, we're at the point where we have all become evil, I think. And, it might be surprising to hear me say that, but in one way or another, we've become kind of a villain in somebody's story already. And I don't think that's particularly a bad thing. I just think that it's kind of sad to hear that you're the villain in somebody else's story. But it's the correct thing to say. It's correct because you are the villain in somebody else's story. Like for me, I'm a boy, right? I'm just a guy, and there are some people who think that because I'm a guy that I'm inherently a bad person, which I'm not, by the way. I'm not a bad person. But some people genuinely think that way. I didn't make this world, and I didn't put myself in a situation where other people are suffering or I am suffering. But people genuinely do think that way, and they do think that I and other men are the root cause of all the problems in the world. But I think that those people they aren't really correct per se. It's just that I don't know, this is kind of confusing to me. But yeah, I think that all of us should be comfortable with being evil once in a while. You shouldn't try to be evil, but you should acknowledge that you are evil in some way or another, and in somebody else's story you are the villain, right? You're a hurdle that needs to be handled, and just having that perspective would change a lot. It would definitely change your perspective a lot, because you don't tell yourself that you're a good person because you do all these things all the time, but that you're evil in somebody else's story because you've done this or that, and so it's up to you. Do you want to be the villain, or do you want to be a good person, or do you want to be good by your own standards? I think that's the most important thing, is that you have to trust within yourself that you're doing good, but also trust within others that you're doing bad or good. And it's challenging because these days I don't really know what's good and what's bad anymore. But yeah, it's a lot up to you, up to your interpretation, and also up to the world. So yeah, I think being evil is it's not like, you know, it's not particularly a bad thing because you can always learn from it and stuff like that. Yeah, I hope I'm making sense right now. But yeah, I can't find this treasure right now. I can't see where the chunk thing is. Yeah, that's that's what I'm thinking about right now. Oh, maybe it's like then these four, I think. Okay, no, I don't think so. But yeah, that's kind of my gripe with, you know, people saying that other people are evil and stuff. It's like, no, it's that, you know, they're evil in your eyes. In your eyes, they're evil. In other people's eyes, they're good. And so, you know, it's confusing. But it's definitely like a sort of learning experience, right? Like, do you double down and say that you're a good person? Or do you say that you're actually evil and need to change, you know? Oh, I see it now. Yeah. So yeah, like, do you need to change, or are you perfect? Of course you're not perfect, but are you like, yeah, are you good? Are you as good as you say you are? You know? I think that's the most important thing that you should ask yourself is, are you as good as you say you are? Yeah. But yeah, I think that's pretty much all I have to say for this video. Yeah, I think we can stop it right here. So yeah, if you enjoy my video and you have any kind of opinion about this topic, please let me know in the comments, and alright, I'll see you next time.